1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Hammer. I know you always love talking about the debacle that is this Oakland A's move to Las Vegas. And, there was that article in the Chronicle over the weekend that NBA owners are not happy with MLB owners are not happy with what's going on right now.
Yeah, they've got to be pretty freaked out too, because this is something the NBA was always very cognizant of. Anytime a community comes up with money and you leave them anyways, or you threaten relocation, you're threatening the infrastructure of the league as a whole. And that's because if a state like California and a city like Oakland is able to come up with how much money they've come up with, and you're going to turn your back on them, that means that California might not come up with that money again. And it also means that another city that a Major League Baseball team goes to their city or goes to the state and needs money, and they could point to that and say, well, look, how are we going to guarantee that you're not going to do what the Oakland A's did? And that's a problem. And it's something that, again, the private-public partnership that has to be like a symbiotic relationship between the community and the team is really the way it works. And I know people get upset that billionaires need handouts, but that's just business. And, if you go back to the one time where an NBA city really said, no, we're not doing it, we're not helping you, it's the Seattle Supersonics. And the NBA turned their back on them and never looked back. And I know that a lot of people want to blame David Stern for that situation. They want to blame, ownership for that situation. Clay Bennett for that situation. Exactly. But at the end of the day, if they would have come up with the money to help build a new stadium, which was badly needed, there was no question it was needed, the Seattle Supersonics would have never left. Instead, city council turned their backs on them and embarrassed them. Really, like, turn the screws on Clay Bennett. And again, I don't think Clay Bennett was, like, honestly trying to keep the team there. I'm not like saying that this wasn't already put in, some wheels were put in motion, but like David Stern would have always kept the team there if there was money coming in to help build an arena. And that's because it's what's right for the rest of the league. And that's what these owners are going to have to look at. Like, why are we subsidizing this guy to do this and embarrass us? And at some point, like, the NBA had enough of the Maloofs. We're not letting you do what you're doing anymore. We're not going to let you subsidize. We're not going to help you guys, somehow stay famous while you run all of your other businesses into the ground and run this business into the ground. I don't know. It's tough. When my first 2 years covering the Sacramento Kings, they ran the lowest payroll in the NBA, and both years they traded for a player at the deadline just to get to the league minimum salary cap floor. It's just the way it was.
So, James, let me ask you, do you think that the A's, the two-part question, I guess, do you think they move? And if they do move, do you think it's with John Fisher as the owner?
John Fisher will move the team. Like, if he's going to be allowed to move the team, then yeah, he's moving it. But I also think that Rob Manfred, who I think is a ridiculously horrible commissioner, but I honestly believe he needs to look at what's best for the league, not best for a billionaire owner who's lost a bunch of money because his clothing companies have tanked. And if what's best for Major League Baseball, without any question, is for John Fisher to not be an owner ever again. That's what's best for baseball. Moving the team stays, team goes. There's nothing that says he won't be a horrific owner in Las Vegas, just like he has been in Oakland. Nothing. I'll tell you guys, like, when Vivek bought the Sacramento Kings and Arco Arena was going to be torn down, everyone knew that the only way to keep the Kings in Sacramento was to get a new arena. He spent millions and millions and millions of dollars upgrading the arena, Arco Arena, that is now a dirt patch in Natomas, upgrading that arena to make it right for 3 seasons. Man, you're still peeing in a trough at Oakland Stadium. Like, that is the worst, most embarrassing. I mean, like, they still have sewage issues for a Major League Baseball team. They have bathrooms that players have been locked in in the clubhouse, like, and couldn't get out in the middle of a game. Fernando Rodney locked in a bathroom because they just don't take care of it. And that's, again, when the Maloofs own the Sacramento Kings and Arco Arena, every single time a toilet broke or a sink broke, they covered it with a plastic bag. That's who they were the last 5 years they were owners. So you go into a bathroom, half of the stalls are closed and have big tape over them. Half of the urinals are broke and have plastic bags taped over them. That is an ownership issue. It's not a plumbing issue. That's just bad ownership. That's having no self-respect and putting nothing into the product that you're asking people to pay their hard-earned money for. And that is exactly what the Oakland A's have done. It's absolutely amazing how bad they are.
There is a Costco coming to that in Thomas, though.
Is it where the Fridays was going up, or like where?
Or is it going where the old Sam's Club was? There was a Sam's Club there for a long time.
That's right, there was.
What comes first? The Fridays in the Thomas or Tom's Watch Bar?
Well, Tom's Watch Bar, didn't you say they were actually working on it?
I think it's opening in August.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Okay. Next month. Damn, we're already in August.
Tomorrow's August. Like literally, tomorrow is August 1st.
Tomorrow's August.
Tomorrow is very literally August. Hammer, you found out some details on the Nerlens Noel deal. I know you and Brendan and Sean. Again, shout out Sean Cunningham for his ventures into music festivals, because those things are taxing. But you found out some details on the Nerlens Noel deal. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah, I mean, it was first reported by, I'm going to butcher his name, but I think it's Anil Gogna, Gogna, who runs NoTradeClause.com. He's the first one to report it, but again, not to be disrespectful, we're talking about somebody who doesn't have like a massive following in the NBA world. And so I'm not going to go off that, but I am going to give him credit that he was right. So at this point, Spotrac has confirmed that Nerlens Noel will make $300,000. Sorry if my Wi-Fi is spotty, but they'll make $300,000 for showing up to training camp, $600,000 if he makes opening day roster, an additional $600,000, and then his contract, like everyone else's that's in that situation, non-guaranteed contracts would become guaranteed. I think it's January 9th or January 10th. So the Kings can kick the tires on him if he gets hurt, or if he's not up to snuff, or he just doesn't look right and doesn't look like he fits during training camp. They'll cut him. They've done this in the past with other players. I think last offseason they spent something like $300,000 or $450,000 on players that didn't make the team, with guys like Sam Merrill getting $150,000 to show up to training camp, and guys like DJ Stewart getting $150,000 guaranteed money. So I would assume that the Kings are going to look at it in the same way. And if Nerlens is a player, then they'll keep him. If not, they have an easy out. And I know $300,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in the NBA world, it really isn't.
It doesn't sound like a lot of money to me, and that's why, like, I don't. When I was listening, I wasn't sure. Does this make it more likely or less likely that he's actually going to make the team?
Well,
or does it not matter? Like,
he's got to prove that he can play. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he was waived last year and he signed a 10-day contract and played for someone on a 10-day. I'm surprised he got $300,000 guaranteed, to be honest with you. A 10-day contract is, I think last year is like around $110,000 for a 10-day contract. So, but that's what we're looking at, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money. Like the lowest income NBA player makes, I think it's $1.1 million this year, unless you're a two-way. A two-way makes half of a league minimum salary, so $550,000.
Yeah,
interesting.
Because the contract is interesting enough. I just always wondered, in general, like where Nerlens Noel would be as far as this roster is concerned. Like, I'm not sure he's better than Alex Len. I'm not sure he's going to get more playing time at the 5 than Trey Lyles. And it seems like the contract may make it where at any point in time they can do whatever they feel they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the idea of Nerlens Noel makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's athletic, he's a shot blocker, he's a rim runner. He's someone that would play well, really well as like an alley-oop guy for Malik Monk. I think the idea of him makes just a ton of sense, but the functionality just hasn't been there. I mean, this is, I think, his 7th team in his 9 NBA seasons, and it just hasn't worked out. So that happens, and he's a guy who definitely, like, I like his ability to get steals. The rim protection's fine, but again, the blocks aren't a true turnover. This is a guy who averages on his career like 1.2 or 1.4 steals per game. So he can do a lot of things on the defensive end, but like, he hasn't been healthy, and he hasn't been able to earn reasonable minutes on bad NBA teams. And so what would make you think he can win a rotational spot on a good NBA team? That's usually a pretty big red flag if he can't get on the court on a bad team.
So do you think he makes it? I'm getting the feeling you don't think he makes it.
I don't know. I think it's a coin toss, but like last season, I don't think any of us thought that Matthew Dellavedova would make the team. And sure enough, he did. So yeah,
and we got Delly minutes. We got real Delly minutes last year.
We did get Delly minutes, and like, look, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a player that can step in and play reasonable minutes if you have an emergency situation. And so he makes some sense. And I mean, his contract, even if it's guaranteed, it's guaranteed at like $3.2 million. Like, even if you get past the January 9th or January 10th, you should already know what's happening, whether he fits in your system at that point. If you've committed like $1 million, $1.5 million at that point, that's not that bad to just go, okay, we need the roster spot and move on if he's not part of everything. And I definitely think that the Kings will keep an open mind, and probably, I mean, they still have an open roster spot, and they have multiple open roster spots. I've talked about that, how during the offseason, you're allowed to carry up to 21 players, including your two-way players. And as of right now, I have them, I think, at 16. So right around that. So they still have plenty of players that they either can invite to camp or, kick the tires on it in a multitude of different ways, including a two-way contract they can bring someone in on.
And we probably wouldn't hear, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I was going to say we probably won't hear much of that till closer to camp if they want to bring somebody in, because, I mean, this is pretty much a dead period right now, right? Although somebody just got signed this morning, I saw. Forgot who it was. Woj tweeted out something. So maybe something.
Oh, Garrett Temple got
right.
signed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Garrett Temple. Yeah. My dude, Garrett Temple.
Things maybe still could happen.
Yeah. I mean, we are in the sort of the dead part of the season. But there is always opportunity. I know, talking to Sean Cunningham on the podcast, Jordan Ford will be in training camp one way or another. So whether he's what's called an Exhibit 10 contract, or he's a roster contract that they may, waive at the end of camp, or whether he earns a two-way contract, I expect Jordan Ford to be part of training camp. Sean has, actually been around him, and like that sounds like a foregone conclusion at this point. But outside of Jordan Ford, I don't think we know. We have no idea what's going on with Neemias Queta. That's something that's just kind of like stuck out there in space. I feel bad for him. He's not playing for the national team. And I'm not sure if that's because of his injury or something else, but that's something that to keep an eye on, and just, he needs to heal up because he has the foot issue.
James, it's fun and it's fine, especially, headed into, August 1st to talk about the 14th and 15th player on the roster. But let's talk about, the second or first, depending on who you ask. What can Domantas Sabonis do this year to not be the most overrated player in the National Basketball Association, according to Bleacher Report?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Grant Hughes is going for there. Like, I like Grant. He's been around the team like every once in a while in the past. I'm confused.
Tell him don't come back. Tell him the next time he comes to Sacramento, he's got to clear it with us.
Well, I mean, the next time he comes to Sacramento, I'm sure someone in the media will make sure that they tweet out, "Hey, Kings fans, Grant Hughes is here tonight." Like,
tell him to check in with Trick.
Yeah, you got to check in with Trick, man. Come on now.
I'm not sure how to like digest what he said, because I looked at what looks like his metrics. And if you're going to go off of his metrics, you can't look at a 7-game series as your sample size, especially when 3 of those games, Domantas Sabonis was absolutely dominant. So there's no way in hell that Domantas Sabonis is the most overrated player in the NBA. He was second in the league in win shares. Second, the guy who was first is Nikola Jokic, who won the MVP 2 years ago, 2 previous seasons, and should have won it this year as well, and then just led his team to an NBA championship. He took a team that was a 30-win team and put up 48. 18 win and improvement. Not only that, he took a team that was a 25th highest rated offense, 25th, and made them number one. Not only number one, historically number one, the greatest offense using offensive rating in the history of the NBA. So I'm not quite sure how you mess with your mess. Did he have a couple of bad games in the playoffs? Yes. But so did Harrison Barnes. So did Kevin Huerter. So did Keegan Murray. And then DeAaron Fox with a broken index finger was not the same player. So, like, look, there are reasons why the Kings failed. And one of the biggest reasons is this was the first time they had made the playoffs in 16 seasons, 17 years, the first time. This is what happens. You get beat by the world champs in the first round, but you take them 7 and you have the most entertaining playoff series there ever was. I mean, come on now. Like, this is just, it's shoddy. That's what it is. I feel bad that people are asked by their bosses to make these lists, because I've been in that situation and you're like, what exactly am I doing here? Because someone is going to come out the loser. But in this situation, like the true loser in this situation is the one who had, and I'm not calling him a loser, but this situation made him into a loser for having to do it, is the writer himself. Because that's just unfortunate that you have to go out there and put something out there like that. Like, show me some sort of metric outside of like realistically a 4-game sample size in the playoffs, because the other 3, he was great. I mean, he led the league in double doubles. He was second in the league in triple doubles. He took a team that was, I think, 27th in defensive rebounding and made him number 15. Like, everything about what he did last season was like so eye-opening that he was well deserving of being an all-NBA player and an all-star. And to be honest, he barely missed being second-team all-NBA. So you guys, I heard you earlier, you had some problems with Kawhi Leonard or Paul George being on that list. Or
DeMar DeRozan. It was
DeMar
Kawhi
DeRozan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why Paul George didn't make that list too, because that guy hasn't got his team deep in the playoffs multiple times, and for a guy with that much talent. So that's really, really tough. Like, some of those players, they can be overrated because they don't play enough, but DeMar DeRozan's a really good NBA player, and I don't understand how you could consider him overrated. I mean, be honest, where's Karl Anthony Towns on their list? Like, I'm not sure. Like, where are the guys that aren't leading their team to a number 3 seed in the playoffs? Who should be? Zion Williamson. If you're going to put Kawhi Leonard on the list because Kawhi can't stay healthy, then where is Zion Williamson? Because that's the same exact thing. And talk about a guy who is overrated. I mean, you got to play more than 25 games a season. So I'm confused by all of that.
Quote, all we're doing is measuring a player's actual production / value / worth against his perceived production / value / work, end quote. Which means to tell me, like, what he's saying there is, it seems as though Domantas Sabonis is integral and valuable to a team that made the playoffs for the first time in 16 years. In actuality, he's not, though. In actuality, he can easily be replaced. I mean, those are his metrics. That's what he's saying, like the perception versus what actually is going on. And that is maybe one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's just, when it comes to basketball, it's just one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Well, that, and the problem that you have is there are things that actually quantify this, like value over replacement player, VORP, right? He was 6th in the NBA. So I'm confused. Like, there isn't another player that the Kings could get that would replace what he does outside of Nikola Jokic. So, could you go out there and change everything? And are there better centers out there? There's like 2, maybe 3 at the most. And the other guy that you're going to put in there is Anthony Davis, and it's whether he can stay healthy or not.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, there are only 2 centers in the league that are better than Domantas Sabonis, and it's Jokic and it's Embiid. And they literally have the last 3 MVPs.
And then the other thing was, he talked about he got outplayed by Kevon Looney in the playoffs. Kevon Looney had a heck of a first-round series against Domantas Sabonis, but he averaged 7.15 rebounds. I mean, that if let's switch it up. This is what I always like to do. If Kevon Looney had Sabonis's numbers for the playoffs or for that series, and Domas had Kevon Looney's numbers, nobody would be saying Domas outplayed Kevon Looney. Like, no, and this is coming from somebody that I don't think Sabonis played well in this. I thought, he could have played a whole lot better. But if you switch the numbers that they had, I think, like I said, Looney was 6.9, 15 rebounds for the series. Sabonis was 16.4 and 11 rebounds. If you switch those 2 stat lines, nobody would be saying Kevon Looney outplayed, Domantas Sabonis outplayed Kevon Looney.
Right.
So,
especially if Domantas Sabonis was benched,
well,
like Kevon Looney was. Like Kevon Looney played like 11 minutes a game.
Yeah,
and that wasn't Kevon Looney's fault.
No.
And like, look, my point isn't to just bash on Grant. My point is to.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. We've been doing it all day. We're bashing Bleacher Report.
Yeah, but my point is that you ask a writer to put that out there, and you're only going to cause problems. There's only going to be negativity from whoever it is that you put at the top of that list, unless it's consensus. And I mean, you can go through and you just do a better job at it.
That's it.
Because I'm not sure how. I mean, Domantas Sabonis should be in the list of the top 5 most irreplaceable players in the NBA.
Domas is plus 18 in wins over the year over year. It doesn't
game over.
No matter what metric you use, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
and what it really goes into is, we had wondered what the narrative would be surrounding Sacramento now that they had gotten a playoff victory, couple All-Pro. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. Now, the people who know basketball, the PJ Carlissimos, those type of guys, they'll continue to sing the praises of the Sacramento Kings. But this type of stuff, whether it's from Bleacher Report or The Athletic, or ESPN, it's the narrative around Sacramento is going to be exactly the same. And every paragraph, every write-up, every look ahead to the upcoming season is going to start with the same line.
Mm-hmm.
Can they do it again? Was it a one-off? Are they still the basement, but bottom seller franchise? Is that what they are? They've got a lot to prove. They stood still. They didn't sign Kyle Kuzma, James. Are they going to be any better? It's going to be the same thing. I thought there might be like a smidge bit of respect, but there won't be.
There's not. And if DeAaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are going to make the All-Star team again, they're going to have to earn it every step of the way. And while you have articles like this, Domantas Sabonis is quietly piecing together a Hall of Fame career. Is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
overrated.
We have
unbelievable.
The top 25 Kings games of the season.
Controversy erupted.
They're
throwing chairs in the ring.
But I'm watching that game, and Domas wasn't like killing. I think he was 14.17 rebounds, which is fine. More
11
than fine.
assists.
11, right? But it's like, yo, this dude is doing a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's passing. He's finishing off pick and rolls. He's rebounding. He's doing everything. And like I said, that story comes. I watched that game on the heels of reading that story, and I'm like, I can't believe anybody that's actually watched this team multiple times saying this guy's overrated. I just can't fathom it. And I don't care if it's the regular season or not. Like, it's not an overrated player.
You know, Kenny, we looked at it too. There was late in the season, there's something like 15 games where he missed a triple double by like 1 assist or 1 rebound. Like, he's not a stat hunter. And I heard you guys bring this point up earlier. He averaged 4.7 assists in the playoffs, and that's because his 3-point shooter stopped hitting their shots. That's why he averaged 4.7. There was easily that many 3-point shots missed on the table. And, you know, again, some of the guys around him have to take some of the burden for the loss. And, oh, by the way, the series went 7 games against the defending champs.
That's right.
The series went 7 games.
Who needed 50 to get out of Golden One Center with a win. 50 from Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
I just thought they'd show him like a little bit of respect. Like, they hated him before. Like, they were like indifferent in Indiana. Now they seem to hate him because he was traded for the golden boy, Tyrese Halliburton. And now he's trash. That's just weird to me. Like, I know he doesn't care. I know DeAaron doesn't care. I know the Kings don't care. That's just wild to me. Like, if you let them lose this year, then pick on them. Like, why are you coming at him now? It's just and James, you talked about this last week, and I think it's just so accurate. It's people piling up on their already bad takes. Like, they had bad takes regarding Domantas Sabonis. Now they're doubling down on them. And we're doubling down. We said this week we got announcements to make. We got an announcement to make today.
Oh.
And much like what's happening Thursday, I don't know what it is. James has got something to tell us. Oh, he's going to unveil the happy hour guest for later on in the week, right when we get back. James will tell us how you can be a part of the Kings Beat virtual happy hour and who the guest is when D'Lo and KC return here on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320. Oh, yeah. Announcements upon announcements, baby. I have no idea who it could be. I can't wait to find out.
It's going to be a fun one.
Traded for AJ Pollock from the Mariners.
They sure did.
Wait, who is traded?
The Giants are finalizing a trade to acquire outfielder AJ Pollock and utility man Mark Mathias from the Seattle Mariners. Sources told ESPN.
There's your Verlander, Kenny.
There you go, Kenny. Divisional championship, baby.
Oh, okay. What was that? Curb Your Enthusiasm, where it's
good reference.
I never watched that show. I heard it's hella funny though.
I watched so I guess that like the series was on and then took a break and then came back, like a long break. I watched like the second
half of it all.
Yeah. I never went back and watched the worst because the quality was too low. It's like standard definition television. I was like, what is this? I was like, I'm not watching this.
Do you guys watch Euphoria?
I watched one episode of that show, and even for me, it was too heavy.
It's out there.
I can't watch it because they're all like teenagers. They're like kids. I was like, I can't watch it. I know it's a great show and everyone loves it, but
one of their actors just died.
I saw that. 25.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Jeez.
Terrible.
And Peewee Herman died.
Peewee Herman did die.
What was he, 70?
70, yeah.
He'd battled cancer for like 6 years.
I'm glad he kind of got back after kind of being the joke for a little while.
Yeah.
Of course, he did a great job. What was it? The MTV Awards, where it's his first public appearance in I don't know how long since that thing, and he opens up with, "Hear any good jokes lately?" I thought that was such a great plan for his return.
Yeah, Rob WCS is, man. All right, jeez. I mean, all right.
AJ Pollock is 35.
Big bats.
Wow.
I'm not gonna sneeze on any signing. Just see what happens, but it's not gonna get me hyped up off the rip.
Farhan heard you talking right now. He's like, "Fine, you want a deal? Fine."
I remember. I didn't have a problem, but I remember Giants fans were pissed when I'll never forget, the Dodgers had just traded for Hanley Ramirez. They had a weekend series in San Francisco, and they swept the Giants. Hanley Ramirez hit a 11th inning game-winning home run and had the goggle eyes and all this other stuff. Then the Giants very quietly were like, "Yeah, we traded for Marco Scutaro." And everybody's like, "They're out here getting Hanley Ramirez, and we're getting Marco Scutaro. What the hell is going on?" And they don't win 2012 without Marco Scutaro. So after that, I was just like, we'll just wait and see what happens. Oh, yeah. I could say it now. I could say it on the show. I'll say it on the show since we mentioned it on the show. I remember what I was going to say.
Good looking, Andrew. It's the only thing written on the paper. What did you want to? There's literally nothing else written on it except that line. And at 4, I would have looked at it like, what the hell does this mean? Thanks, Andrew. You get producer credits for today's show.
I would have written car ramrod on there. I wrote it on the paper. Car ramrod.
There goes your boy. About to get
my
an
guy.
Aaron Rodgers jersey.
My guy, Aaron Rodgers.
Damien did say he's all right by me.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said, but what he did was right. Unlike Marcos Bertone, who remains the biggest fish in the area.
Jeez. Why are we having that?
We're coming back, Hammer.
Again?
I love every time the Sacramento Bee uses a picture of old boy, they use the one with his fist up like this. Like we're gonna get fooled into what that means.
Bro, but why that piece wasn't even necessary, bro. Like why? Just get an IG live and talk about it on there. We don't need a publication about this.
I got nothing to say about Marcos Bertone. Absolutely.
I don't understand that. I do want to give a shout out to Young Zell, who was ripping up the stage at the State Fair yesterday. I was mad I didn't get a chance to get out there and see him.
Sky River.
On the Sky
stage.
River stage. That's right. I was mad I didn't get a chance to see my guy, man, but he just keeps making moves. Good day, Sacramento. A couple of days before that.
Yeah.
State Fair. I mean, it's going to be a Kings game next year. I'm telling you that right now. He's going to be at a Kings game.
It's got to be. We're going to find out who the guest for the next happy hour is, which is coming up on Thursday from James Ham in a minute. But shout out to our man, Andrew, who reminded us that I'm supposed to remind you of something you wanted to say earlier. 2 hours ago, you said, hey, remind me of this later. So we're reminding you of this later.
So it really is nothing. But if I would have said it, it would have kind of hinted towards what was going on. And all I was going to say was I saw a lot of aerial shots of Chicago while I was watching that game. And I've never been to Chicago. I was like, I really want to get to Chicago. Never been there before. But if I would have been like, I was watching this Bulls game last night and I had to keep the suspense. They couldn't know what 15 was.
Okay.
That's all it was. It wasn't nothing major.
Got it.
I like Chicago. Chicago's cool.
I've never been to Chicago.
Can't wait to hear about the aerial shots for game number 5 on this list. James, I can't wait to get everybody's opinion on game 5. It's literally weeks away.
I think you guys are going to be a 2-man wolf pack.
I don't think so. But again, it's moments and stories. I just think this is a little extra. We'll come back. We'll get to that as time goes on.
You've been to Chicago before?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Is it as advertised?
Yeah, Chicago's a great place.
Oh,
Windy.
It's cold.
It lives
It's
up.
cold.
Yeah,
and
I ain't
windy.
going,
Yeah.
I ain't going that time of year.
It lives up to its name. It's windy and like traffic is a monster.
Yeah,
Traffic is a monster.
Marshall Harris came up on my timeline the other day. My boy Marshall.
I heard from Marshall today.
How's he doing?
He sent he just sent the eyeball emoji after I posted the countdown on the Instagram stories. He sent the eyeball emoji.
We gotta have Marshall on. We tried to get him on, but he was so busy that one time.
I need to reach out to him. I haven't talked to Marshall in a little while.
Marshall's my guy.
He's a great dude, man. We were better off having guys like Marshall in Sacramento.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts. All right, James, let's do this, man. This is our first of many announcements this week. Happy hour coming up on Thursday, kingsbeat.com. Become a premium subscriber. Some people are asking, where does the happy hour stream? It doesn't. The reason the happy hours are so big is because it lives once.
Yeah.
And they have not missed. They have not failed. They have gotten more and more attendance each month. James, you've been doing this for about a year. They're tremendous. And we've got our guest lined up for Thursday. Who is it?
Yeah, off the record with the Kings Beat virtual happy hour. I think it's part 14. We're bringing in a broadcasting legend. I am not that broadcasting legend. I'm bringing in Jim Crandall from Fox 40 fame. Jim is a guy who has covered everything in Sacramento for decades and decades and decades. He stepped away from the game like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I know he misses it in retirement. And I want to get his perspective on everything covering the Kings when they're just new here in Sacramento. And just like he is a spectacular dude, and it should be a great one. I think it'll be similar to like when we had Aileen Boyson on. It was just like stunningly good, and you
really good.
Yeah, you didn't see it coming, and then you're like, okay, this makes a ton of sense. So Jim Crandall is a very, very good dude, and I'm excited to have him on the show.
Jim will tweet about happy hour next Thursday.
He will be late to tweeting about it, but yeah, but you have to remember, like, he's a guy in Sacramento for decades, you know, like he's a guy on your local news, waiting for, to see what's happening at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm excited to have him.
Nah, look here, man.
That's
Jim Crandall.
Stories.
When I was a young Kenny Caraway, a little older than 7, but not 13. Didn't have cable in the room. Just had a TV though. And I can't stay up all night, but I could watch the news at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, Fox 40. Jim Crandall, let me know what happened that day. Almost every single night. Jim Crandall, legend. Fox 40, right down the street from where my old school was. So, shout out, Jim Crandall.
It's a good question from David Jackson. Will Jim Crandall be drinking?
Ooh.
I will. I know that.
We know you will.
Yeah,
we know you and Brendan will be drinking.
I did tell him that everyone else will be drinking and that he's welcome to partake, but we'll see. See.
Aileen's was really good.
That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, Aileen's was really good because she had been around the league for so long. She was telling stories about Magic and Kareem, and like she had, like I don't want to say I know Aileen very well. I've talked to her a lot. Like I knew her background pretty well. I didn't know she had stories like that. Like she was in the vault. Like there was some really good stuff there. She was she was pretty honest about her interactions with DeMarcus too, which was really entertaining. But that was a good that was a really high end happy hour, man. That was a good one.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for. It's about the storytelling. The same thing we had Gary St. Jean on last month, and to have Pete Youngman drop by in the middle of the happy hour to give thanks to Gary St. Jean for all of the the things that he'd meant to his career. I thought was spectacular. Like Katie Christensen was off the charts. Like that was a crazy happy hour. So I think each and every happy hour, they have their own feel, but all of them are just like, I don't know why it is that setting works, but it works really, really well. So become a premium subscriber to the King's Beat so you can participate.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Charles Barkley always showing Aileen a lot of love. Like,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's a legend in the game. I mean,
She
her
really
story
has been around the league a lot. Like she was talking about David Stern, like
getting on a private jet with David
yeah,
Stern.
that was the homie. Like that was the big homie, David Stern.
Yeah. He had to go somewhere. She said, well, can I just go with you? And he's like, okay. And hopped on the private jet.
I don't know how you're getting back, lady, but you can come with me.
Flew to Las Vegas, I think.
I don't know if this is against the rules or not, but I missed that when I had basketball games. No, I had baseball games that day. What's Aileen up to nowadays?
She works for the state.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll have her on the happy hour again too, because she got to like a third, maybe even like 10% of the stories. Yeah. That was some great stuff. And it was like 3 hours long.
Yeah, it was a lengthy one. That
Yeah.
was a lengthy one. Go to thekingsbeat.com and become a premium subscriber over there to be a part of happy hour coming up on Thursday. You'll get your invitation there. And that's just that also, that's a great perk, but that's what it is. It's a perk. It comes with all of the great writing that James Ham does over there on the King's Beat, man. It's been really cool, James. Like I know I've said this to you before, how you've built this King's Beat thing out over the last year and some change. It's been a lot of fun to watch this thing, the YouTube channel, the podcast, all of that stuff explode the way that it has, man. I've never questioned how hard of a worker you are, but seeing this platform that you created blow up the way that it has is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for being like sort of the support back behind it. So it's been good. It's been a good partnership here with ESPN 1320 too. I just, like the media world changes so quickly, and it has been changing so much over the last, even like the 13, 14 seasons I've covered this team. And it's wild to think back to a day when Sacramento Bee had, they had a videographer, they had a photographer, they had like 2 or 3 reporters at every single practice. And now it's tough to get someone at every single practice, or just one person. And there is no, all these other pieces that they had to the puzzle. And just to watch the media landscape, especially in Sacramento, shrink and shrink and shrink. It's good to have your own voice and be able to craft your own stories and not have to do things like the 5 most underrated players in the NBA. Those are things that get clicks and they get people talking, but not in a good way. I'd rather have people talk about my work because I do good work and I wrote something interesting, or the podcast was good. And it's definitely a challenge to be in the media world at this stage. But if you love it and you're passionate about it, I think you can do a lot of things.
Or, they're talking about you because you came up with this harebrained idea that's far-fetched and almost certainly is never going to happen about Domantas Sabonis' contract.
Wow.
And then 5 months later, the exact scenario that you presented, which I'll be honest, I don't think any of us understood it when you first said it, nor that it was even remotely likely, winds up being exactly what's happening.
I don't understand it now. Deal's done. They don't understand it.
That matters. Hell, John Hollinger still can't figure out. He still can't figure out how this deal
been
got
done for weeks, and they still. I just don't understand. Something's not adding up.
They gave $37 million of cap space to Domas. I don't get it. Hang in there, John.
It's a overrated move, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
An overrated move. And I guess, with all, Domas actually to be even better next year. He was really good this year, and it wasn't enough to change whatever perception people have built. He's part of I don't know that we talk about this this is a legit star tandem. This is a superstar tandem here. When you look at tandems across the league, like Fox and DeAaron are really Fox and DeAaron. That's a hell of a tandem.
That is great.
Fox and Sabonis, that's a tandem. Like that's a hell of a duo, and wasn't enough.
No,
they're gonna have to be. Now I don't know if it's they have to be even better, or just Domas has to be even better. Like, do you think DeAaron is? word we use in our circles. James, do you think DeAaron is certified, or is most overrated clutch player of the year of all time article going to be written next week about how DeAaron ain't crap?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a possibility, right? I mean, that's the world we live in. So do I think, I don't think they have to be better. I think they have to be the same. Like
Okay.
just do it again. Shows that that's who you are. Win 48 or more. Do it again. Win, put up the same or similar numbers. Like, I don't know how much better Domantas Sabonis can be statistically. I don't. I mean, could he average 20 a game? Okay. Like 0.9 points more. I mean, he averaged 7.3 assists per game. He led the league in rebounding. Like, I'm not sure how he can be statistically. He shot like 61% from the field. So yeah, he can be slightly different. He can hit an 18-foot jumper when he needs to. But I mean, didn't he shoot like 37% from three? Like, what else can the guy do? He's not a elite scorer. That's not who he is. He's an elite playmaker, an elite rebounder, and a good scorer. So, like, I don't know that he can do a lot more to add on. I think Fox still, 25 points a game is, like, I think standard for him. Could he hit 27, 28? I totally think he could, but I don't think the Kings would be a better team. I think that, like, the way that Fox gets better is bumping up his assist numbers, hitting more 3-point shots, becoming more efficient, like we saw out of Sabonis. And he was really efficient and really good. So yeah, I think these guys can be, like, somewhat a little bit better in their own roles, just tightening things up and adding a few wrinkles. But, like, if they're the same and the Kings are the same or better, then they'll start getting all the praise that they deserve.
And that's one of the reasons why I felt, and I still feel, like the most important thing for this franchise is to make the playoffs next year. Just make the playoffs. I know a lot of people think, no, you need to win a playoff series and improve that way. I think for establishing who you are and what you are as a franchise for the next decade, you need another playoff appearance to show this isn't a fluke. Domantas Sabonis and DeAaron Fox, they are a legit tandem. They are a star pairing. We're here. Yeah, we got the fifth seed this year, and we lost in 6 or 7 games. Now we're looking to improve upon what we've established. Now we're looking to make another jump. But you have to solidify, in my opinion, you have to solidify that jump by doing it again. Just getting there again, I think. That doesn't mean wouldn't be disappointed or, tough question. I can already see if they lose in the first round next year, we'll come on these airwaves at 12:05. Hey, we got to ask some tough questions. We got to ask, like, do they need, like, all that's going to happen. But in my opinion, to establish yourself in this league as a perennial playoff team, that's the next step by just making the playoffs again next year.
I agree with you. I mean, the first step is to get there. The second step is to solidify yourself there. The third step is to start climbing. And do they have the players to climb? I think they do. But you also, I kept saying it last year, like, 48 wins is not a typical third seed. So, like, if you're going to win, you need 53, this season to be a 3 or a 4 seed. I think. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm off base. But I still think that, there's room for growth here. There's a ton of room for growth. I mean, this isn't a team that you expect to go out and put up 60 wins or something. But I also think you set a formula for success, and then you set a formula for improvement, and we can all see how they can improve. You can take out the peaks and valleys of guys like Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk. You can see the improvement of Keegan Murray. You can see Trey Lyles get more comfortable in his role. You can see all of these pieces that can improve. And I think the one thing you can kind of write in pen is that Harrison Barnes will probably be the same player for another season or two before we start seeing any sizable decline from him. And so I think that this team is a team on the rise, and they're a team that has, like, a really bright future. I still think that they're probably one major piece away from being a contending team, but Kings fans should be more than happy with where they are right now. They're on pace and they're building something.
Peaks and valleys are just part of a player's season, though, right? Like, I mean, I think Kevin Huerter had some extreme valleys at some point, which was weird, but he had some really high peaks too. It was like he had a really weird season, but that's not exclusive to a guy like Kevin Huerter. Like, that's kind of part of the league, like the ups and downs. You probably want to minimize it a little bit, but it's just weird how extreme his were. Like, oh, he's shooting 60% for three on the season. Sure, he can keep that up. Look how good the Kings team is. And then, for 4 weeks, he's shooting 28% or something, wild like that.
Yeah, I think him and Monk both had, Monk had that stretch from like early, like December 12th until like late January where it was a mess. And so like that's about losing your legs and about being in better shape and coming in. And that goes for both of them. And that goes for everybody. The one guy that stood out last offseason that walked into the gym on for media day and like everyone in the gym went, what in the world is going on here, was Trey Lyles, who lost like 20 plus pounds.
Yeah.
And just looked like a totally different dude. So yeah, I definitely think that there's plenty of room for improvement, and again, it's just being on the right path. They're building something. They now have a year where they're with the same coaching staff, and they have opportunities to get better.
Trey knew he was going to pop the big question, so he was going to get in shape.
He had to be fresh.
Yeah, you got to be in shape when you pop the big question. So when's the first game again? We're getting close, right?
That was something else we talked about, right? Like media day is almost always September 24th, 25th, 26th. They pushed media day and training camp back to October. So I think the first week for teams that are playing outside of the US, that are playing internationally, they can open training camp on the 29th of September. For the rest of the league, I think it's October 2nd is report day, and October 3rd is the start of training camp. So I think October 2nd will be media day. And I'm confused because that's a week late. Like, where are they still in a week when they're adding a mid-season tournament? I'm very confused by what's happening.
Yeah, I'm James. I'm sure you got a similar note that the rough draft of the schedules haven't been set to teams yet. Like normally, like the drafts will be sent to teams like with the schedule on it, and they'll be like, "Hey, can we make some changes here?" Again, you can't make wholesale changes; it just doesn't work. But
Taylor Swift is going to be here.
Right. Those types of things, yes, because that will get you evicted quick. Those, as of last week, those hadn't been sent out yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's been super quiet. The whole schedule thing has been super, super quiet. So kind of odd.
No, it could be that. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's the midseason tournament. I think they're still hashing out all the midseason tournament and trying to figure out all of the intricacies and how they're going to adjust the schedule afterwards.
Hey, the one thing that nobody had an answer for that we couldn't get, they hadn't figured out what this other game's going to be. They're trying to figure out.
They were catching up on D'Lo and KC, and they just figured out,
Think about this.
These guys are right.
I went through the new CBA and read, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, they don't clarify enough. Somebody's got some idea.
Here's what I know for sure. This is certain. Game 6 of the NBA Finals will be June 20th. That's when the Kings will win their first championship. It'll be June 20th. I've got that day. It's locked. Game 6 is June 20th. Game 7 is June 23rd. So June 20th. Mark your calendars. So plan to be off June 24th. That'll be the parade. So just start to make your plans now.
The parade will probably be on the 26th or something like that.
Man, when is the NBA draft?
Give it a few. Well, no, you don't have the parade the very next day.
Yeah, that's a good call, James. The draft might be at Summer League.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Game 7 is scheduled for June 23rd.
The
draft might be the 30th. June 30th.
The 25th to 26th. That's really a tight timeline. That's crazy.
Maybe
because the draft is usually like 2 weeks after the last finals game.
Yeah.
No. The draft,
Yeah,
it's
week?
usually about a couple of days. I mean, it's usually like a week. Yeah, it's got to fit in before the the June 30th start of free agency.
Yeah.
And then I don't have the California Classic dates on here yet. Lock in the California
4th
Classic.
of July.
Okay.
Yeah, the 3rd and the 5th. That's
yeah,
usually
the show's over.